Welcome to Getting Teams Accustomed to QuickBooks Online. I am Wendy Barlin, CPA, your host, and I've been working with QuickBooks Online for many years. Everything I'm sharing with you today are tips and tools that I myself have implemented in my firm. So you've made the plan with your client to move their accounting from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. The hard part is done. And now you need to set them up for success. We know that automation leads to accuracy and efficiency. However, it is and can be daunting for your client to let go of those old systems that they've used and trusted and loved for so many years. So some of what we're talking about today is strategies to make sure that this implementation goes smoothly. Training is a crucial piece to the success of this transition. And a good training program helps ensure the continued success of their processes and workflows after the move. We're going to look at some material today that you can actually share with your client. Relationship building and change management are the two keys to a successful migration, in my opinion and in my experience. It's not really about the data. They will think it's about the data, right? The clients think it's about the data, but we know that it's not about the data because we're taking data from one place and moving it to another. It's the same data. The same bookkeeping principles apply, debits and credits. But the most important thing that we need to address to ensure success in this migration is relationship building and change management. It's also key for your clients to trust you through this process. They bought into the change because of you, because you recommended this to them. We are their advisors, and we've advised them to make this change, and now they need to trust us through the process. And that's where the relationship piece is so important. You really want to keep that top of mind in everything that you do, that we are here to support them, no matter how small the question is, no matter how irritated or busy we may be. Our goal is to make sure that the client feels supported through this transition to make sure that it's successful. Otherwise, they are going to find every excuse to say, I told you so, it doesn't work, I told you so. So managing that relationship, managing expectations are going to be key. So we don't just convince our clients to migrate and then say, good luck, and walk away. I wish we could sometimes, but that wouldn't be effective or efficient or result in success. Many times where I have seen accountants do this and say, oh, you'll find everything you need on the Intuit website, just good luck, 50-50 chance it'll happen. But in order to ensure success and ensure migration to online where they do enjoy the benefits of everything we've promised them, this accuracy, this time saving, we need to be part of the process. We really do. We are going to bolster their confidence by being supportive, being available. We're going to start conversations about onboarding by talking about the staff and the day-to-day work that is going to change in very positive ways. Better accuracy, no more human error, no more typos, no more looking for that reconciliation that won't happen because somebody transposed a number 6-9 instead of 9-6. That goes away. Now we have direct bank feeds and downloads. So we're not looking for human error. We're not concerned about human error anymore. Also, when they automate, it moves from staying just above water. It allows you to get to the next level of success. It's higher retention for your employees. So now the client's team, their bookkeepers, their account managers are not doing data entry. Mundane work that's boring. There's no other way to spin it. It's boring. It's hard to find your errors. It's easy to make errors. We're taking that off the table. Now the data entry is done for them. Now this allows them to do more meaningful work. Look at reports, look for outliers, let someone on the accounting or finance team know if there's an issue or an error. So I've found that this really up-levels the bookkeeping and accounting team at the client's office, which helps with retention. Not as many office managers or bookkeepers leave because now they're doing more meaningful work. It's also a better customer experience because when their team are freed up from manual tasks, they have more time to fine-tune their customer experience on their side. So we know it's a win-win, but these are some more of the value adds. You want to be clear with your client that they will benefit from this transition. Phasing out the old systems, how to make a culture shift towards new technology. This is the same issue we face no matter what change we make. Today, we're talking about migrating QuickBooks, but any change in any organization requires a culture shift. Technology, operating procedures, locations, remote work, all these things changes everywhere we look. And phasing out an old system, bringing in a new system, we really want to focus on change management. You'll need to talk to your client about this. How are they going to manage change? Some people focus on the benefits. They have a meeting and they say, okay, here are the benefits. This is how it's going to help you go to work. I like to involve my team and ask my clients what they can do to involve their team in the change so that they don't feel like the change is being plonked on top of them, just hand it over. This is the way it's going to be. We want to involve everyone so that they understand the benefit. Some fun ways to do it are to throw a party. We had a change bowling party where we were embracing QuickBooks Online. It was the QuickBooks Online bowling party, and it was a celebration of a new start. Helps build some fun into what otherwise is a very serious business change. Some people prefer to keep the focus on career development, allow their team to see the benefits they're going to gain from this. For you, it's going to be different, and for your clients, it's going to be different. But my suggestion, based on my experience, is that you offer them something different, some way to involve their team in this change, because change is hard and it's challenging. So we want to show everyone the advantages of this new system. I really believe in a solid training plan. I like to start with running webinars for the client. So this is a high-level webinar where everyone from the organization is involved. It's not this is where you put a check. This is how you receive a deposit. It's this is what QuickBooks Online looks like. Here's how it works. Here are the benefits. And here are some of the fantastic dashboards or reports that it's able to provide. Really high level, no more than 45 minutes. And please make sure you allow for questions and answers because people will have questions. And this will give you an opportunity to see what their questions may be and or their concerns, right? Then you want to schedule some deeper dive trainings with smaller groups. So I like to break it up into how they're going to be using the system. I'll do a smaller group training with the actual bookkeepers and perhaps a smaller group training with the managers who will then be using the reporting function. You don't necessarily have to be the person doing that meeting. I do the webinar for the entire team because I think it's important that I show my support. When it comes to the smaller group trainings, I actually have one of my bookkeeping team do that training because they use the system every day in a way that I personally don't. So depending on the piece of the QuickBooks ecosystem that they're using, banking, invoicing, payables, you want to match that with the small group training and someone on your team to lead that training if it's not going to be you. Now, there will be some parts of the training that you don't have time to cover or that may be parsed out over time. There are clients that use QuickBooks Payroll. There are clients that use QuickBooks Timesheets. And there's so many other apps in the marketplace that clients are using. We can't possibly build a training for every single one. So I usually do the basic trainings, and then we look at what else do they need and how are we going to help them get that additional training. That's the only piece where I think it needs to be ad hoc and based on the client themselves. When it comes to the one-on-one training, again, I really believe it's better in a smaller group, and it's better when it's someone from your office doing it. Some clients need to hear things directly from us. Some clients need to hear things multiple times and have it done multiple ways. This is where the relationship, just like we talked about when we started today, your relationship with your client is so important, because you will know what solution works best for each client. And you need to match the solution to the client by way of training. In general, we do a 45-minute overall session and then some small group sessions, but each client might need something different, and you need to assess that relationship with each client as to what's the best strategy for success here. Why live training? Well, if someone has a live training with you, they're more likely to buy in. They're looking at you, they're listening to you. If you don't get customer buy-in, client buy-in in the first 2 or 3 weeks, they're likely not going to be successful, and they're likely never going to actually do the migration. I've tried sending videos because I wanted to save the time, honestly. And so I tried sending live videos, but the percentage of people that actually watch the videos, probably around 30%. My conversion, my migration, my success rates were very low. So we went back to live webinars. I know you're groaning, but I highly recommend these live webinars. It shows the client your commitment. You can see where the issues are. And ultimately, their success in QuickBooks Online is our success, not only because we recommended it, but I know that it makes my life as an advisor, as a tax preparer, easier to be working with live QuickBooks Online data. So bear that in mind when you commit the time to this process. We really want to be high-touch advisors. We want the client to know that the money they're spending is worth the investment. We're invested and they're invested. And this is part of how we manage change. We are their trusted advisors. Relationships, relationships, relationships. Time spent in training is going to pay for itself over the long run. Now it is your responsibility to get familiar with QuickBooks Online yourself. We have to practice what we preach, and QuickBooks Online Community has wonderful resources for you to start with. I recommend a good place to start is the community. So much information, so many helpful people offering advice on how they're using the system. The other place I'd like you to spend some time is at the Firm of the Future. These are firms, this is information that is so valuable in the real practical implementation and practical use of QuickBooks Online. Then there's always the Intuit Contact Us area. Personally, I've used this a lot. My team used this a lot. We have found the Intuit team, especially in the online area, to be so responsive. Anytime we have a question, something a client has asked us that we don't know, rather than spend hours searching, sometimes we'll just go to Intuit and ask them, and they've been extremely responsive. So please do remember that. Then, not to be forgotten is training and certification. You can certainly take the self-paced training. I love this for us as advisors. Again, you can do it at your own pace. Having a quiet day, a client canceled, and we've got a couple of hours in our day, you can pop on and do the self-paced training. It really gets you into the system, whether you're using it or not. I think it's really important for us to understand how the system works, what the screens look like, and what the customer, what the client and their team are going to experience using the system. So this self-paced system is actually designed for us. It's designed for us as the accountant. So I highly recommend you allocate the time to do that and or offer it to your team. For additional support, there are a lot of materials in the ProAdvisor space. Those of you who are ProAdvisors are probably familiar with that area. If you're not a ProAdvisor, I like it. I like the level of support that is there. The articles, the community are really supportive, and they have some great tips and tricks of how to really maximize the system. That's a lot of resources. You're not alone. We could do this. QuickBooks has so many members, and it's really a fantastic community with information that is easy to find. I'm a ProAdvisor, and I highly recommend the ProAdvisor program, especially in a world where the marketplace is very competitive. It truly helps us to have a ProAdvisor designation. Also, to get that ProAdvisor, you really need to know the system, and that in and of itself is beneficial. It improves your work. You dive into the training resources and the exams, and you can see what detail your customers and their bookkeepers will need to know. I also really like the ProAdvisor network. There are a lot of people who are running fantastic accounting and tax firms across the world, and my ProAdvisor network have been fantastic also when I need questions answered or I have a community-based question. So I highly recommend you look into the ProAdvisor program. Now, for those of you who don't love training, don't love doing webinars, that's okay. You're an expert in your client's work, and they trust you. This is a relationship business. You understand what they need to know. So you don't need to teach them everything about QuickBooks Online. You just need to teach them the functionality that they will use, because we don't want to overwhelm anybody. This is a very robust system, and your clients only need to use the pieces that they are going to use on a day-to-day basis. And this is why I like to customize the training. We want to lean into everybody's strengths. And as I said, if you are not going to enjoy doing webinars, then perhaps you're not the person to do the high-level training. I like to do it. I think it's important for the client from a relationship basis to see me doing it, but let's lean to your strengths. If you're not going to enjoy this, then by all means, find someone on your team to do the training. Hire someone to do the training. What we want to do is make sure that the client is comfortable, that they understand QuickBooks Online from the high level, being the dashboard, the reports, all the way down to the detailed training for the bookkeepers. Please remember, we're all new to this at some level. There's still pieces of QuickBooks Online I am learning every day. So you want to make sure that whoever is doing the training remains clear, kind, and we never want to make the client or anyone on their team feel like they've asked a silly question or feel like they can't do this. Our goal is to empower them to say, you've been using QuickBooks Desktop, you're doing well, you can use QuickBooks Online and you can do this. That really is our goal with training, as much as showing them the details of the how-to. It is also to empower them. We really don't want to spend too much time building elaborate, detailed training plans. We want to keep it simple. We want to keep it simple and clear. We want to boil it down to what they need to know, because everybody's busy and nobody wants to spend hours and hours listening to details on how to do it. So I highly recommend using an agenda. Big fan of agendas. Every time you do a training meeting, make sure that a couple of days before the client gets an agenda so they understand exactly what the meeting is going to be about, who's going to be leading, and what the intention is. 45 minutes on their calendar, bookkeepers, one-on-one training, maybe an hour once or twice. I find an hour is the maximum anybody can focus before they really just don't hear you anymore. So 2 trainings if needed, 3 if needed, but in smaller increments. I don't like the idea of a full day or a half a day of training. In my experience, that's too much. You do want to record the meetings and have them transcribed if possible. This gives the client something tangible to take away so that if they retrain another bookkeeper, they have the training to show them. Or they can watch it again if there was a piece that was unclear or they'd like to be reminded. You really won't have to invest this time over and over and over again with the same client if it's done right the first time. At my firm, we offer unlimited QuickBooks Online support to our clients. What this means is that for us, I have found that we waste more time if we don't offer this support and we get a file at the end of the year that is not useful for taxes or tax planning. So I have committed the resources during the year for clients to be able to call us with a QuickBooks Online issue or question that we can resolve immediately, which then ensures clean data for us at the end of the day. So it's a win-win. We're offering this unlimited service, but we are also ensuring that our job is easy at the end of the day by getting good, clean records. Of course, if a client is abusing the system, we will need to address that. But for the most part, clients are very respectful and they call when they really do have a question. If we can't help them, we'll call Intuit and get the answer for them. But it truly is part of our service as advisors, trusted advisors, to be their go-to person and make sure their books and records are clean. Especially I've found in the first 90 days, because those 90 days are where things really can go awry. And so we want to make sure that they start smoothly. I really love our messaging platforms. I'm not sure if you're using anything like that with your clients, but try to avoid too many emails. I think we're all overloaded with email. So if you can set up some sort of system for your clients to contact you in an organized manner that's quick and easy and not blocking up phone lines or emails, that's why I recommend messaging platforms, whichever one you're using. That's what we found to really work for us and our clients. Now, if your clients are adding functionality, we're going to talk about some best practices today. We're going to talk about how we do this so that it's a win-win for everybody. Now, this might seem simple to you, but I've been doing this for a long time, and I can tell you we always want to send the Zoom link to the meeting. We always want to have an agenda that clearly sets out the expectations and the time allocation. And we always want to send reminders a week before, 3 days before, an hour before, because I'm sure, like me, you have had situations where you block out your time in your calendar and the client doesn't show up. And now we've got to reschedule. And now all the time and effort is wasted. And we've got to start all again with finding a calendar date, sending out the Zoom link, sending out the agenda over and over again. So in order to streamline this process where we are committing a lot of time and resources, we need to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to assure everyone that this is not going to be disrespectful to their time. Please, reminders, reminders, reminders. I cannot stress that enough. Email and phone calls are usually the best way to stay in touch with the client. I know that we're getting so many emails these days. The other thing you can do is always ask the client how they prefer to be contacted, but using the method that the client prefers the most for communication is what I've found works. There are clients that want email. There are clients that want phone calls. There are clients that want texts. And I don't like to have 10 different ways to communicate, but this is really critical that we are communicating with them through this transition in the most efficient and effective manner that works for them. So again, set up your meetings, send your reminders, and make sure you're using a communication system that the client wants. We want to make sure that the client knows we are taking this process extremely seriously, and we expect them to do the same. Some more presentation pointers, as I know some of you are not comfortable doing presentations. These may be your first presentations. And for those of you that do this regularly, maybe these are just some reminders. But in my experience, we want to create effective slides. We've all sat through webinars where the screen is just covered in jumble of words. Please keep it simple. 3 to 5 bullet points is the most I ever want to see on a page. And screenshots. Screenshots are fantastic because they're visual. They change it up a little bit. Bullet points, screenshots, especially of QuickBooks Online. so that they can see what to expect when they get there. A great visual. You want to lead your trainings from a quiet location. Everybody's working from home these days. We know we're used to the dogs barking, the delivery guy showing up at the door, all kinds of kids running around in the background. But please do the best you can to, again, show your courtesy, respect, and the value of this time that we're spending together by leading your virtual meetings in a quiet location. One of my pet peeves is fuzzy cameras and bad sound. Sometimes the internet just does its own thing, but if you can limit the issues by investing in a good camera and a good sound system so that what you're saying is clear, and if I had to choose between camera and sound, I would choose sound, because it's extremely important that what you're saying is clear to the client. Sometimes what I see in the backgrounds of people's offices is frightening and horrifying. So look behind you. Make sure that what your client is seeing is appropriate for the situation, and perhaps ignore what you see on their side. But I do often let clients know the cameras will be on and we will be able to see your office just in case they need to make some changes to their space. Consider using 2 screens. Most of you probably have 2 or at least 3 screens by now. It's extremely helpful to have your slides on one screen and everybody's faces on the other. I like to see people's faces while I'm talking. So I want to see if they're bored. Some people are on their phones, and then I can say, do you need a minute to check your email because we can wait? Or if somebody looks quizzical at me, not sure, then I might say, am I going too fast? Do you have a question at this point? I think it's really important to make this as much of an experience as though we were all in the same room as possible. So cameras on, and consider using 2 screens so that you can interact. I like to record everything. As I said, I like to record it for our purposes and for the client's purpose, so we can share that recording with them. There may be times when you want to hold questions. Not everybody likes to have an ongoing conversation. So sometimes what I will do is mute everybody besides me and ask them to hold their questions till the end or to certain sections and say, okay, now I'll open this for questions. What questions do you have? Rather than a flurry of ongoing questions, which can sometimes irritate others, slow down the process. Let's keep your questions till the end. So be cognizant of that, and also let the client know that that is the case. I am going to mute you now. Please make note of your questions and we will get to them. Or leaving the lines open, just yell if you have a question. That's your choice. You need to tell and guide the client for how this is going to go, because you know what you need them to learn from the session. So stay focused on that piece. I always like to end with a Q&A session of at least 15 minutes at the end, because by then, most clients and their team will be a little more relaxed. They'll see that everything you've shown them, they can do, and this is going to be okay, and you're here to help them. Then when the questions come, that's the gold. That's where you can see where they're stuck, where there may be issues that you and your team need to address or readdress if perhaps they misunderstood something. So as much as you might groan at doing 15 minutes of Q&A, it really can be the golden nugget of the entire presentation, because that's where you're going to find the issues that you can address either then or in future sessions when you break down into smaller groups. So please allow for at least 10 to 15 minutes to see what questions your client and their team might have. Now, helping the client feel secure in this change comes back to your relationship. If someone has resistance to change, generally the small items, which you might just call different, they might call wrong and want to stop the entire migration. I've had clients say, well, this one piece doesn't look right, the whole thing's wrong. So we need to understand who our clients are and preempt those kinds of situations. The mole, the mountain, the mole into the mountain, the needle in the haystack. We want to be sure that small items don't stop the process of the migration. We need to address the clients that come up with questions and what their questions are within the big picture, and remind them, I see your concern, we're going to address your concern, we are going ahead because the value of the system is going to make everybody's lives better, and keep reminding them about that so that the little items don't blow up into a big item. We want to respond immediately to clients' concerns and complaints. This is essential so that they don't just walk away and go, it'll never work, right? That's what we want to make sure never happens, that they walk away from a training session going, that will never work for us. Because we know that's not true. I've migrated hundreds and hundreds of clients, and it does work. So the goal here is to remember to address their concerns in a timely manner, not necessarily to minimize them, but to address them. So the reconciliation report is probably one of my favorite examples of this, in that reconciliation looks a little different online than it did on the desktop. And so for many bookkeepers, office managers, people doing the day-to-day work, they find this very stressful. And so I'd like to spend extra time here when we do our training, showing them that it's the same result, and we're going for the result. We want to make sure that our clients feel secure in the switch. They need to know that we are 100% sure this is the best move for them. We need to stay in that place where we are absolutely sure, because if we waver, then they're going to waver. It's been hard for some of my clients. It definitely has. And whether it's solving an immediate problem or whether it's a longer term goal to roll all our clients to online, I think the issue at hand is that we continue to offer this as the solution to accuracy, efficiency, and being able to work from anywhere. An example is I had a client call me in a flurry because she was still on QuickBooks Desktop, and her bookkeeper, who she trusted and had worked with for years, was moving to another state. She was beside herself. I'm going to have to hire a new bookkeeper. And we all know how hard that is, hiring anyone, but especially a bookkeeper. How am I going to hire her? Where am I going to find this person? And she was so concerned. And I said to her, let's implement QuickBooks Online. Then your bookkeeper can work from wherever she is, and it'll be just like she's in the office with you. And the pain of, well, the perceived pain of moving from desktop to online was less than the pain of hiring and training a new bookkeeper. So I was able to get that client at that particular perfect moment to do the migration to online to save her relationship with her bookkeeper. And of course, a few bumps in the road, but it was a great success. And she is thrilled today that their business continued without any changes, even though her bookkeeper moved to another state, thanks to the migration to QuickBooks Online. And this is someone who was very hesitant to do it. So sometimes an opportunity arises where we can show our client, look what the value you will get from this. It's a big deal, I know, this move for a lot of clients, but please keep reminding them of the values, because I get calls all the time from clients looking for good bookkeepers, as I'm sure do you, and being able to offer a remote solution really opens up the door to a lot of other fantastic professionals in the marketplace. We still want to be aware that this is a big culture shift for a lot of clients. This change from desktop to online, this is a culture shift. It's a change of technology. It's a change of the way they're doing their work. And even if you have doubts that this may or may not work for them, you cannot let them see it. Our goal as their leader, as their trusted advisor, is to show our confidence that this is going to work and this is the right choice for them. And we do know it is. There may just be some bumps in the road, but we don't want to let them on to the fact that there might be, because we're going to be there to help them with whatever comes along. when clients have complaints, and they will, then we will step in and offer solutions. We'll validate their complaint. I hear that the reconciliation is different. I hear that the input screen is different. Here is how it's better. This is why we're going to do it this way, because, and we share the value proposition with them. So we want to listen and respond to their complaints and always remind them of the why. Then when a client does have a concern and you step in as the relationship manager, you want to always answer their questions in a timely manner, even if you don't immediately know the answer. Then what you may want to do is get the answer for the client. You just say, I don't know, but let me find out, because the relationship is that you're the person who's going to help them solve this problem and make sure the system moves ahead smoothly. So when you are faced with a question that you don't know the answer to, which will happen, it still happens to me, then you can go to the Intuit Contact Us page and get the help that you need. The response is extremely timely. We always get fantastic response from the Intuit team whenever we have a client question. And then we can go back to the client and look like a hero. We got you the question answered in a timely manner. And then the client's thrilled because they didn't have to go scratching around on the internet. They were able to ask us. We got them the answer, and now we're the hero, and the system moves forward, and we're all moving towards the same goal, which is truly what we're looking to do here. Get everybody moved online so we can have accurate and efficient data. So please do take note of this address. Make sure everybody on your team knows next steps for when they do encounter a question from a client that they cannot answer. So this is how our new ecosystem is going to look. And you can see after transitioning to QuickBooks Online, how many opportunities there are that are going to arise for us to have quicker turnaround times, less manual work on data entry, data collection, a centralized point of truth and integrity for all our numbers. Remember, training is never over. Just as the client gets used to doing things one way, there's going to be a change in their business or a change in their process. We might find a new app that works well with their particular business and QuickBooks Online that we're going to introduce. There might be QuickBooks Online updates that make everybody's jobs, lives, work easier. This makes their business better. It continues to build our relationship. And this is why I highly recommend offering ongoing QuickBooks Online support. We want constant communication with our client, because the better this data is, the easier our job is, and the client is going to be so grateful because now they have effective and efficient numbers. Always be on the outlook for additional apps, always be on the outlook for QuickBooks Online updates that make this ecosystem even more powerful. For you as the advisor, for us, there are additional resources where we can go to see what's going on in the QuickBooks community and QuickBooks Online. There are migration-specific toolkits, and there's an online page specifically for accountants who are involved in the move for clients. So I highly recommend checking out these resources. I have found them extremely valuable in the many, many conversions that I've done myself. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for participating in this movement to move our clients from desktop to online for greater efficiency, greater data integrity, and greater transparency.